Hi guys. You may be wondering, what exactly is heat? What is temperature? How does it differ from temperature? Heat is the energy that an object has because of the motion of its molecules, which are continuously jiggling and moving around. Heat is the total energy of molecular motion in a substance. Heat can be transferred from one place to another by three methods: conduction in solids, convection of fluids, liquids or gases, and radiation through anything that will allow radiation to pass. The method used to transfer heat is usually the one that is the most efficient. We often refer to infrared radiation as being primarily heat, or thermal radiation. In infrared astronomy, we measure heat which has traveled by radiation. Infrared radiation, also called heat or thermal radiation, is a type electromagnetic radiation, or light. Radiation is a form of energy transport consisting of electromagnetic waves traveling at the speed of light. Temperature is a measure of the average heat or thermal energy of the molecules in a substance. What we measure as the temperature is always related to the average speed of the molecules in a system. So, how cold can it get? You may have thought of winters, but you probably won't be surprised that it could be colder than that. When energy is subtracted to an object, its molecules move slower, creating less heat. The more the temperature decreases, the less energy can be putted into the system, and the wavelength will be larger and bigger in size and distance, and the frequency will be higher based on Newton's law. If less energy is put into the system, the average speed of the molecules will decrease and less thermal energy or heat will be produced. Lower temperatures mean a substance has lower average molecular motion. Let's decrease the temperature until the absolute zero, which is minus 273.15 degrees Celsius, or 0 kelvins. I will use the Celsius and Kelvin scales because the Fahrenheit, Delisle, Newton, Rankine, Reaumur, and Romer imperial units are walking considered unscientific, and the regular gas mark is not used in the United States. Regular gas mark is used in Antigua and Barbuda, Australia, the Bahamas, Bangladesh, Barbados, Belize, Botswana, Brunei, Cameroon, Canada, Cyprus, Dominica, Eswatini, also known as Swaziland, Fiji, the Gambia, Ghana, Grenada, Guyana, India, Ireland, Jamaica, Kenya, Kiribati, Lesotho, Malawi, Malaysia, Malta, Mauritius, Mozambique, Namibia, Nauru, New Zealand, Nigeria, Pakistan, Papua New Guinea, Rwanda, St. Kitts and Nevis, St. Lucia, St. Vincent and the Grenadines, Samoa, Seychelles, Sierra Leone, Singapore, Solomon Islands, South Africa, Sri Lanka, Tanzania, Tonga, Trinidad and Tobago, Tuvalu, Uganda, United Kingdom, Vanuatu, and Zambia. The freezing point of water, aka dihydrogen oxide, is 0 degrees Celsius, or 273.15 Kelvin. During this point, the water molecules transits from a liquid to a solid. Butane boils at minus 0.5 degrees Celsius, or 272.65 Kelvin. The coldest temperature in Sudan is minus 1 degree Celsius, or 272.15 Kelvin, recorded in Zalangji on December 1961 and January 1962. The coldest temperature in Thailand is minus 1.4 degrees Celsius, or 271.75 Kelvin, recorded in Sakhannakhan on the 2nd of January 1974. The freezing point of water at the poles is minus 1.8 degrees Celsius, or 271.35 Kelvin. The melting point of oceans when the salinity is around 34.7 per mil is minus 2 degrees Celsius, or 271.15 Kelvin. The coldest temperature in Niger is minus 2.4 degrees Celsius, or 270.75 Kelvin, recorded in Bilma on the 13th of January 1995. The winter in the United States is minus 3 degrees Celsius, or 270.15 Kelvin. The coldest temperature in Kuwait is minus 4 degrees Celsius, or 269.15 Kelvin recorded in Sami on the 3rd of January 2009. The coldest temperature in Reunion is -5 degrees Celsius, or 268.15 Kelvin recorded in Gite de Belcum on the 10th of September 1975. The same temperature as the melting point of rice bran oil, the oil extracted from the hard outer brown layer of rice called chaff. The coldest temperature in the United Arab Emirates is -5.4 degrees Celsius, or 267.75 Kelvin recorded in Jebel Jais on the 3rd of February 2017. Deserts during the night is -6 degrees Celsius, or 267.15 Kelvin, the same temperature as the freezing point of olive oil, a liquid obtained from olives, a traditional tree crop of the Mediterranean basin. The coldest temperature in Hong Kong recorded in Time Shan on the 24th of January 2016. The coldest temperature in Myanmar recorded in Hakka on the 30th of December 1990. The melting point of sesame oil, an edible vegetable oil derived from sesame seeds, and but 1 N boils. The coldest temperature in Vietnam is -6.1 degrees Celsius, or 267.05 Kelvin recorded in Sapa on the 4th of January 1974. The coldest temperature in Swaziland is -6.7 degrees Celsius, or 266.45 Kelvin recorded in Big Bend. The coldest temperature in the Dominican Republic is -7 degrees Celsius, or 266.15 Kelvin recorded in Valndvo, La Vega province on the 17th of January 1983. Bromine, a liquid nonmetal that it can produce approximately 500 million kilograms in a year at atomic number 35, freezes at -7.1 degrees Celsius, or 266.05 Kelvin. The coldest temperature in Paraguay is -7.5 degrees Celsius, or 265.65 Kelvin recorded in Pratskill, Boquerón Department on the 13th of July 2000. Frost forms at -8 degrees Celsius, or 265.15 Kelvin, the same temperature as the melting point of hemp seed oil, an oil that is obtained by pressing hemp seeds. The average point of winter in Japan is -9.2 degrees Celsius, or 263.95 Kelvin. The melting point of canola oil, a vegetable oil derived from a variety of rapeseed that is low in erucic acid, as opposed to colza oil, and grapeseed oil, pressed from the seeds of grapes and is an abundant byproduct of winemaking, is -10 degrees Celsius, or 263.15 Kelvin. The melting point of corn oil, an oil extracted from the germ of corn, is -11 degrees Celsius, or 262.15 Kelvin, the same temperature as the coldest temperature in Uruguay recorded in Melo, Cerro Largo Department on the 14th of June 1967. The coldest temperature in Hawaii is -11.1 degrees Celsius, or 262.05 Kelvin recorded in Mauna Kea on the 17th of May 1979. The coldest temperature in Guatemala is -11.5 degrees Celsius, or 261.65 Kelvin recorded in Olintepuc, Quetzaltenango Department. Isobutane boils at -11.7 degrees Celsius, or 261.45 Kelvin. The coldest temperature in Saudi Arabia is -12 degrees Celsius, or 261.15 Kelvin recorded in Tarif. The highest point at the South Pole near ground level is -12.3 degrees Celsius, or 260.85 Kelvin recorded in Amundsen Scott South Pole Station on the 25th of December 2011. The coldest temperature in Algeria is -13.8 degrees Celsius, or 259.35 Kelvin recorded in Mekaria on the 28th of January 2005. The coldest temperature in Brazil is -14 degrees Celsius, or 259.15 Kelvin recorded in Caçador, Santa Catarina on the 11th of June 1952. The coldest temperature in Israel is -14.2 degrees Celsius, or 258.95 Kelvin recorded in Meren Golan on the 10th of January 2015. The average point of winter in Canada is -15 degrees Celsius, or 258.15 Kelvin. The same temperature as the coldest temperature in Botswana recorded in Marcoai, and the melting point of ice cream. The melting point of soybean oil, a vegetable oil extracted from the seeds of the soybean, is -16 degrees Celsius, or 257.15 Kelvin. The same temperature as the coldest temperature in Jordan recorded in Shobak on the 15th of December 2013. At -17 degrees Celsius, or 256.15 Kelvin, sunflower oil, the non-volatile oil pressed from the seeds of sunflower, freezes. The same temperature as the melting point of safflower oil, a flavorless and colorless, and nutritionally similar to sunflower oil. At 17.78 degrees Celsius, or 255.37 Kelvin, we reached the 0 point of the Fahrenheit scale. At -18 degrees Celsius, or 255.15 Kelvin, we reached the recommended fridge temperature. The same temperature as the melting point of almond oil, an oil came from the almond. The coldest temperature in Taiwan is -18.4 degrees Celsius, or 254.75 Kelvin recorded in Yushan on the 31st of January 1970. The same temperature as the coldest temperature in Northern Ireland recorded in Castledreg, County Tyrone on the 24th of December 2010. The coldest temperature in Cyprus is -19 degrees Celsius, or 254.15 Kelvin. The same temperature as the coldest temperature in Portugal recorded in Penhas de Sode, Covilhã Municipality Miranda do Douro on the 16th of January 1945 and the 5th of February 1954. The coldest temperature in Ireland is -19.1 degrees Celsius, or 254.05 Kelvin recorded in Markry Castle, County Sligo on the 16th of January 1881. The coldest temperature in South Africa is -20.1 degrees Celsius, or 253.25 Kelvin recorded in Buffelsfontein, near Molteno, Eastern Cape in the 23rd of August 2013. The coldest temperature in Lesotho is -21 degrees Celsius, or 252.15 Kelvin. The average point of winter in Finland is -22 degrees Celsius, or 251.15 Kelvin. The coldest temperature in Australia is -23 degrees Celsius, or 250.15 Kelvin recorded at Charlotte Pass, New South Wales, Australia on the 29th of June 1994. The same temperature as the coldest temperature in Syria recorded in Idlib on January 1951. The coldest temperature in Wales is -23.3 degrees Celsius, or 249.85 Kelvin recorded in Rhyadr, Powys on the 20th of January 1941. The lowest temperature in Africa is -23.9 degrees Celsius, or 249.25 Kelvin recorded at Iferen, Morocco on the 11th of February 1935. The melting point of flaxseed oil, a colorless to yellowish oil obtained from the dried, ripened seeds of the flax plant, is -24 degrees Celsius, or 249.15 Kelvin. The same temperature as the coldest temperature in Pakistan recorded in Skardu on the 7th of January 1995. The average point of winter in Finland is -25 degrees Celsius, or 248.15 Kelvin. The coldest temperature in Peru is minus 25.2 degrees Celsius, or 247.95 Kelvin recorded in Mazo Cruz, Puno region on the 30th of June 1966. The coldest temperature in New Zealand is minus 25.6 degrees Celsius, or 247.55 Kelvin recorded in Ranfurly, Central Otago on the 18th of July 1903. The coldest temperature in Nepal is minus 26 degrees Celsius, or 247.15 Kelvin recorded in Thakmafa, Mustang District. The coldest temperature in England is minus 26.1 degrees Celsius, or 247.05 Kelvin recorded in Newsport, Shropshire on the 10th of January 1982. The coldest temperature in Scotland is minus 27.2 degrees Celsius, or 245.95 Kelvin recorded in Branma, Aberdeenshire, and Altnihara, Sutherland on the 11th of February 1895, the 10th of January 1982, and the 30th of December 1995. The coldest temperature in the Netherlands is minus 27.4 degrees Celsius, or 245.75 Kelvin recorded in Winterswijk on the 27th of January 1942. The coldest temperature in Greece is minus 27.8 degrees Celsius, or 245.35 Kelvin recorded in Tolmeda on the 27th of January 1963. The melting point of decane, a compound containing 10 carbon and 20 hydrogen atoms, is at minus 29 degrees Celsius, or 244.15 Kelvin. The average point of winter in Siberia is minus 30 degrees Celsius, or 243.15 Kelvin. The same temperature as the coldest temperature in Spain recorded in Calamacan Airport, Teruel province on the 17th of December 1963. The coldest temperature in Belgium is minus 30.1 degrees Celsius, or 243.05 Kelvin recorded in the Valley of the Las in Rochefort on the 20th of January 1940. The coldest temperature in Denmark is minus 31.2 degrees Celsius, or 241.95 Kelvin recorded in the Thisted municipality, North Denmark region on the 8th of January 1982. The coldest temperature in Macedonia is minus 31.5 degrees Celsius, or 241.65 Kelvin recorded in Brovo municipality on the 27th of January 1954. The coldest temperature in Argentina is minus 32.8 degrees Celsius, or 240.35 Kelvin recorded at Sarmiento, Chubut province on the 1st of June 1907. The same temperature as the coldest temperature in South Korea recorded in Yangbyong on the 5th of January 1981. The coldest temperature in Azerbaijan is minus 33 degrees Celsius, or 240.15 Kelvin recorded in Julfa and Ordubad. Chlorine, a toxic gas which will irritate the respiratory system at atomic number 17, became a liquid at minus 33.9 degrees Celsius, or 239.25 Kelvin. At minus 34 degrees Celsius, an otherwise healthy person who isn't properly dressed for the cold could experience hypothermia in as little as 10 minutes. The coldest temperature in Slovenia is minus 34.5 degrees Celsius, or 238.65 Kelvin recorded in Babnopol on the 5th of February 1956, the 16th of February 1956, and the 13th of January 1968. The coldest temperature in Hungary is minus 35 degrees Celsius, or 238.15 Kelvin recorded in Gorumbli Topolka on the 16th of February 1940. The coldest temperature in Croatia is minus 35.5 degrees Celsius, or 237.65 Kelvin recorded in Kukovic on the 3rd of February 1929. the same temperature as the coldest temperature in Moldova recorded in Bratușani, Edinet district on the 20th of January 1963. The coldest temperature in Iran is -36 degrees Celsius, or 237.15 Kelvin recorded in Saqqez in 1972, the same temperature as the coldest temperature in Turkmenistan recorded in the Dasogz region. The coldest temperature in Chile and on South America is -37 degrees Celsius, or 236.15 Kelvin recorded in Coyhaique Alto, Asan region on the 21st of June 2002. The same temperature as the melting point of nitrogen chloride, a compound containing 1 nitrogen and 3 chlorine atoms. The coldest temperature in Iceland is -37.9 degrees Celsius, or 235.25 Kelvin recorded in Grimstother on the 21st of January 1918. The coldest temperature in Bulgaria is -38.3 degrees Celsius, or 234.85 Kelvin recorded in Trun on the 25th of January 1947. The coldest temperature in Romania is -38.5 degrees Celsius, or 234.65 Kelvin recorded in Bot, Brasov County on the 25th of January 1942. Mercury, at atomic number 80, freezes at -38.7 degrees Celsius, or 234.45 Kelvin. The coldest temperature in Serbia is -39.5 degrees Celsius, or 233.65 Kelvin recorded in Karađički-Banari, Zlatibor district on the 13th of January 1985. The average winter at the North Pole is -40 degrees Celsius, or 233.15 Kelvin, which intersects the Celsius and the Fahrenheit temperature scales. In may have hypothermia, which can set in just 5 to 7 minutes. The surface temperature of Phobos, the innermost and larger of the Martian moons about 22.2 kilometers in diameter, orbits every 0.31891023 days, is -40.15 degrees Celsius, or 233 Kelvin. The same temperature as the surface temperature of Deimos, the smaller and outermost of the Martian moons, about 16.2 kilometers in diameter, orbits every 1.263 days. The coldest temperature in Japan is -41 degrees Celsius, or 232.15 Kelvin recorded in Asahikawa, Hokkaido on the 25th of January 1902. The same temperature as the coldest temperature in France recorded in Mouth, Doubs on the 17th of January 1985. The coldest temperature in Poland recorded in Siedlce, Masovian Voivodeship on the 11th of January 1940, and the coldest temperature in Slovakia recorded in Viglas Strusa on the 11th of February 1929. The coldest temperature in Switzerland is -41.8 degrees Celsius, or 231.35 Kelvin recorded in La Brevine on the 12th of January 1987. The coldest temperature in Ukraine is -41.9 degrees Celsius, or 231.25 Kelvin recorded in Luhansk on the 8th of January 1935. The coldest temperature in Armenia is -42 degrees Celsius, or 231.15 Kelvin recorded in Pagarkn and Ashok in 1961. The same temperature as the melting point of nitric acid, a compound containing 1 hydrogen, 1 nitrogen, and 3 oxygen atoms, and propane boils. The coldest temperature in Belarus is -42.2 degrees Celsius, or 230.95 Kelvin recorded in Slavnom, Vitebsk Oblast on the 17th of January 1940. The same temperature as the coldest temperature in the Czech Republic recorded in Litvinovice on the 11th of February 1929. The coldest temperature in Bosnia and Herzegovina is -42.5 degrees Celsius, or 230.65 Kelvin recorded Igman in Sarajevo Canton on the 24th of January 1963. The coldest temperature in Lithuania is -42.9 degrees Celsius, or 230.25 Kelvin, recorded in Utena, Utena County on the 1st of February 1956. The coldest temperature in Latvia is -43.2 degrees Celsius, or 229.95 Kelvin, recorded in Jojva, Jojva County on the 17th of January 1940. The coldest temperature in Estonia is -43.5 degrees Celsius, or 229.65 Kelvin, recorded in Slavnum, Vitebsk Oblast on the 17th of January 1940. The coldest temperature in North Korea is -43.6 degrees Celsius, or 229.55 Kelvin, recorded in Chungcheongguk on the 12th of January 1933. The coldest temperature in India is -44.9 degrees Celsius, or 228.25 Kelvin, recorded in Dras, Jammu and Kashmir on the 22nd of March 1911. The coldest temperature in Germany is -45.9 degrees Celsius, or 227.25 Kelvin, recorded in Fontensee, Berchtesgadenland, Bavaria on the 24th of December 2001. The coldest temperature in Turkey is -46.4 degrees Celsius, or 226.75 Kelvin, recorded in Solderen, Van Province on the 9th of January 1990. The coldest temperature in Austria is -47.1 degrees Celsius, or 226.05 Kelvin, recorded in Grunlochdelin on the 19th of February 1932. The melting point of cottonseed oil, a not cooking oil from the seeds of cotton plants of various species, mainly Gossypium hirsutum and Gossypium herbaceum, that are grown for cotton fiber, animal feed, and oil, is -48 degrees Celsius, or 225 Kelvin. The same temperature as propane boils water may be kept, but supercooling at -48.5 degrees Celsius, or 224.65 Kelvin. The coldest temperature in Italy is -49.6 degrees Celsius, or 223.55 Kelvin, recorded in Bussafraduzda, Palle di San Martino on the 10th of February 2013. The temperature of snowball Earth, which occurred near the beginning and end of the Proterozoic at 2,220,000,000 BC, in 710 million BC and in 640 million BC, is -50 degrees Celsius, or 223.15 Kelvin. The melting point of hydrogen iodide, a compound containing one hydrogen atom and one iodine atom, is -51 degrees Celsius, or 222.15 Kelvin. The coldest temperature in Norway is -51.4 degrees Celsius, or 221.75 Kelvin, recorded in Karasjok, Finnmark on the 1st of January 1886. The coldest temperature in Finland is -51.5 degrees Celsius, or 221.65 Kelvin, recorded in Pokka, Kittilä, Lapland on the 28th of January 1999. The coldest temperature in Afghanistan is -52.2 degrees Celsius, or 220.95 Kelvin, recorded in Sharjah on January 1964. The coldest temperature in Sweden is -52.6 degrees Celsius, or 220.55 Kelvin, recorded in Vågatjärn, Lapland on the 2nd of February 1966. The surface temperature of the Moon, Earth's only satellite, about 1,737.1 kilometers in diameter, orbits every 29.530589 days, is -53 degrees Celsius, or 220.15 Kelvin. The same temperature as the melting point of nonane, a compound containing 9 carbon and 18 hydrogen atoms. The coldest temperature in Kyrgyzstan is -53.6 degrees Celsius, or 219.55 Kelvin. Coldest temperature in the United States is -57 degrees Celsius, or 216.15 Kelvin recorded in Rogers Pass, Montana on the 20th of January 1954, the same temperature as the melting point of octane, a compound containing 8 carbon and 16 hydrogen atoms. The coldest temperature in China is -58 degrees Celsius, or 215.15 Kelvin recorded in Jinan, Inner Mongolia on the 31st of December 2009. The coldest temperature in Europe is -58.1 degrees Celsius, or 215.05 Kelvin recorded in Shchuga, Komi Republic, Russia on the 31st of December 1978. The average point of winter in Antarctica in -59 degrees Celsius, or 214.15 Kelvin recorded at Domargus, Antarctica. Radon, a radioactive heavy noble gas that is one of the heaviest noble gases at atomic number 86, became a liquid at -62 degrees Celsius, or 211.15 Kelvin. The coldest temperature in Alaska is -62.2 degrees Celsius, or 210.95 Kelvin recorded in Prospect Creek on the 23rd of January 1971. The surface temperature of Mars, the fourth planet from the Sun, orbits about 3,389.5 kilometers in diameter every 686.971 days, is at -63 degrees Celsius, or 210.15 Kelvin, the same temperature as the coldest temperature in Canada recorded in Snag, Yukon on the 3rd of February 1947. The coldest temperature recorded in North America is at -66.1 degrees Celsius, or 207.05 Kelvin recorded in North Ice, Greenland on the 9th of January 1954. The coldest temperature on the Northern Hemisphere is -67.7 degrees Celsius, or 205.45 Kelvin. The coldest temperature in Asia is -67.8 degrees Celsius, or 205.35 Kelvin recorded in Verkhoyansk and Oymyakon, both in Sakha Republic, Russia on the 7th of February 1892 and the 6th of February 1933. Radon freezes at -71 degrees Celsius, or 202.15 Kelvin, the same temperature as the coldest air temperature recorded in Oymyakon, Oymyakonsky District, Sakha Republic, Russian Soviet Federative Socialist Republic, Union of Soviet Socialist Republics on the 6th of February 1933. The surface temperature of Ceres, the largest object in the asteroid belt about 945 kilometers in diameter that lies between the orbits of Mars and Jupiter, slightly closer to Mars's orbit, and the 33rd largest known body in the Solar System orbits every 1,681.63 days, is at -71.5 degrees Celsius, or 201.65 Kelvin. The melting point of sulfur dioxide, a compound containing 1 sulfur and 2 oxygen atoms, is -75 degrees Celsius, or 198.15 Kelvin. The melting point of ammonia, a compound containing 1 nitrogen atom and 3 hydrogen atoms, is -78 degrees Celsius, or 195.15 Kelvin. The sublimation point of carbon dioxide into dry ice, a compound containing 1 carbon atom and 2 oxygen atoms, is at -78.5 degrees Celsius, or 194.65 Kelvin. The debite temperature of ice is -81.15 degrees Celsius, or 192 Kelvin. The coldest temperature in Domey is -82.5 degrees Celsius, or 190.65 Kelvin recorded in Domey on July 2005. The coldest temperature in the South Pole is -82.8 degrees Celsius, or 190.35 Kelvin, recorded in Amundsen Scott South Pole Station on the 23rd of June 1982. The melting point of hydrogen bromide, a compound containing one hydrogen atom and one bromine atom, is -87 degrees Celsius, or 186.15 Kelvin. Ethane boils at -88 degrees Celsius, or 185.15 Kelvin. Lowest recorded temperature on Earth is -89.2 degrees Celsius, or 183.95 Kelvin, recorded at the Soviet Vostok Station in Antarctica on the 21st of July 1983 by ground measurements, which without protective clothing, your skin and your eyes will freeze almost instantly. The melting point of isopropyl alcohol is -89.5 degrees Celsius, or 183.65 Kelvin. The melting point of heptane, a compound containing 7 carbon and 14 hydrogen atoms, is -90 degrees Celsius, or 183.15 Kelvin. The coldest luminance temperature recorded on Earth is -93.2 degrees Celsius, or 179.95 Kelvin, recorded in Antarctica at 81.8 degrees south, 59.3 degrees east on the 10th of August 2010. The melting point of hexane, a compound containing 6 carbon and 12 hydrogen atoms, is -95 degrees Celsius, or 178.15 Kelvin. Chlorine freezes at -100.8 degrees Celsius, or 172.35 Kelvin. By this point, temperatures below -100 degrees Celsius are very harmful to humans, but we can still much colder. Ethene boils at -104 degrees Celsius, or 169.15 Kelvin. The glass point of supercooled water is -108.15 degrees Celsius, or 165 Kelvin. Xenon, a heavy noble gas that produces a blue glow in a vacuum tube when excited by an electrical discharge at atomic number 54, became a liquid at -108.8 degrees Celsius, or 164.35 Kelvin. Xenon freezes at -111.7 degrees Celsius, or 161.45 Kelvin. The Néel temperature for manganese sulfide, a compound containing one manganese atom and one sulfur atom, is -113.15 degrees Celsius, or 160 Kelvin. The melting point of hydrogen chloride, a compound containing one hydrogen compound and one chlorine atom, is -114 degrees Celsius, on 159.15 Kelvin. Alcohol freezes at -114.14 degrees Celsius, or 159.01 Kelvin. The temperature of the clouds of Jupiter, the fifth and the biggest planet from the Sun, about 69,911 kilometers in diameter, orbits every 4,332.59 days, is -120 degrees Celsius, or 153.15 Kelvin. The surface temperature of Io, the innermost of the 4 Galilean moons of the planet Jupiter, the fourth largest moon, has the highest density of all the moons, and has the least amount of water molecules of any known astronomical object in the solar system, about 1,821.6 kilometers in diameter, orbits every 1.7691377886 days, is at -130 degrees Celsius, or 143.15 Kelvin. The same temperature as the melting point of pentane, a compound containing 5 carbon and 10 hydrogen atoms. The superconductivity point of mercury, thallium, barium, calcium, copper oxide, a compound containing 1 mercury atom, 1 thallium atom, 1 barium atom, 1 calcium atom, 1 copper atom, and 1 oxygen atom, is -135.15 degrees Celsius, or 138 Kelvin. The melting point of butane, a compound containing 4 carbon and 8 hydrogen atoms, is minus 138 degrees Celsius, or 135.15 Kelvin. The surface temperature of Saturn, the sixth planet from the Sun, about 58,232 kilometers in diameter, orbits every 10,759.22 days, is minus 139 degrees Celsius, or 134.15 Kelvin. The same temperature as the melting point of Hex-1n, a compound containing 6 carbon and 12 hydrogen atoms. The highest temperature superconductor at ambient pressure, mercury, barium, calcium, copper oxide, a compound containing 1 mercury atom, 1 barium atom, 1 calcium atom, 1 copper atom, and 1 oxygen atom, is minus 139.15 degrees Celsius, or 134 Kelvin. The same temperature as the surface temperature of Callisto, the second largest Jovian moon after Ganymede, the third largest moon in the solar system after Ganymede and Saturn's largest moon Titan, and the largest object in the solar system not to be properly differentiated at 2,410.8 kilometers in diameter, orbits every 16.689018 days. At minus 140 degrees Celsius, butane became a liquid. The superconductivity point of thallium, barium, copper oxide, a compound containing 1 thallium atom, 1 barium atom, 1 copper atom, and 1 oxygen atom, is minus 148.15 degrees Celsius, or 125 Kelvin. Krypton, a noble gas that is produced when air is purified, compressed, cooled, distilled and condensed at atomic number 36, became a liquid at minus 153 degrees Celsius, or 120.15 Kelvin. The lowest temperature on Mars is minus 153.15 degrees Celsius, or 120 Kelvin. Krypton freezes at minus 156.2 degrees Celsius, or 116.95 Kelvin. The Néel temperature for manganese oxide, a compound containing 1 manganese atom and 1 oxygen atom, is minus 157.15 degrees Celsius, or 116 Kelvin. Methane boils at minus 161 degrees Celsius, or 112.15 Kelvin. The melting point of nitrogen-2 oxide, a compound containing 1 nitrogen and 1 oxygen atom, is minus 163 degrees Celsius, or 110.15 Kelvin. The lowest temperature on Jupiter is minus 163.15 degrees Celsius, or 110 Kelvin. The same temperature as the highest temperature on Enceladus, the sixth largest Saturnian moon, orbits every 1.370218 days, about 500 kilometers in diameter. About a tenth of the largest Saturnian moon, Titan, and Ganymede, the largest and most massive of the solar system's moons, the ninth largest object in the solar system at 5,268 kilometers in diameter. The largest without a substantial atmosphere, orbits every 7.154559296 days. The melting point of ethene, a compound containing 2 carbon and 4 hydrogen atoms, is minus 169 degrees Celsius, or 104.15 Kelvin. The surface temperature of Europa, the smallest of the 4 Galilean moons orbiting Jupiter, and the sixth closest to the planet to Jupiter, about 1,560.8 kilometers in diameter, orbits every 3.551181 days, is at minus 171.15 degrees Celsius, or 102 Kelvin. As we kept decreasing the temperature, I will use prefixes. Decakelvin is the same as 10 kelvins. Decikelvin is the same as 1/10 of a Kelvin. Centikelvin is the same as 1/100th of a Kelvin. Millikelvin is the same as 1/1000th of a Kelvin. Microkelvin is the same as 1/1,000,000th of a Kelvin. Nanokelvin is the same as 1 billionth of a Kelvin. Picokelvin is the same as 1 trillionth of a Kelvin. Femtokelvin is the same as 1 quadrillionth of a Kelvin. Attokelvin is the same as 1 quintillionth of a Kelvin. Zeptokelvin is the same as 1 sextillionth of a Kelvin. Octokelvin is the same as 1 septillionth of a Kelvin, but they are going to be fractions later if the temperature is below 1 Kelvin. The highest temperature on Rhea, the second largest Saturnian moon and the ninth largest moon in the solar system, about 1,527.6 kilometers in diameter, orbits every 4.518212 days, is -174.15 degrees Celsius, or 9.9 decakelvins. That's 99 Kelvin. The surface temperature of Titan, the largest Saturnian moon and the second largest natural satellite in the solar system, about 2,574.73 kilometers in diameter, orbits every 15.945 days, is at -179.5 degrees Celsius, or 9.365 decakelvins. That's 93.65 Kelvin, which methane became a liquid. The superconductivity point of yttrium barium copper oxide, a compound containing one yttrium atom, one barium atom, one copper atom, and one oxygen atom, is -181.15 degrees Celsius, or 9.2 decakelvins. That's 92 Kelvin. The oxygen, a gas that is the third most abundant in the universe and the most abundant in the Earth's crust at atomic number 8, became a liquid at -182.9 degrees Celsius, or 9.025 decakelvins. That's 90.25 Kelvin. The melting point of ethane, a compound containing 2 carbon and 4 hydrogen atoms, is -183 degrees Celsius, or 9.015 decakelvins. That's 90.15 Kelvin. The surface temperature on the Aptis, the third largest Saturnian moon, 11th largest in the solar system, and the largest body in the solar system known not to be in hydrostatic equilibrium, about 1,469 kilometers in diameter, orbits every 79.3215 days, is -183.15 degrees Celsius, or 9 decakelvins. That's 90 Kelvin. The lowest temperature on Mercury is -184.15 degrees Celsius, or 8.9 decakelvins. That's 89 Kelvin. The melting point of both propene, a compound containing 3 carbon and 6 hydrogen atoms, and but 1 N, a compound containing 4 carbon and 8 hydrogen atoms, are -185 degrees Celsius, or 8.815 decakelvins. That's 88.15 Kelvin. Argon, a noble gas that is the most abundant of rare gases at atomic number 18, became a liquid at -186 degrees Celsius, or 8.715 decakelvins. That's 87.15 Kelvin. The surface temperature on Dione, a Saturnian moon about 1,122.8 kilometers in diameter, orbits every 2.736915 days, is -186.15 degrees Celsius, or 8.7 decakelvins. That's 87 Kelvin. The surface temperature on Tethys, a Saturnian moon about 1,080 kilometers in diameter, orbits every 1.887802 days, is -187.15 degrees Celsius, or 8.6 decakelvins. That's 86 Kelvin. Argon freezes at -189.2 degrees Celsius, or 8.395 decakelvins. That's 83.95 Kelvin. The lowest temperature on Saturn is -190.15 degrees Celsius, or 8.2 decakelvins. That's 82 Kelvin. The melting point of ozone, a compound containing 3 oxygen atoms, is -192 degrees Celsius, or 8.115 decakelvins. That's 81.15 Kelvin. The Néel temperature for iron oxygen chloride, a compound containing one iron atom, one oxygen atom, and one chlorine atom, is minus 193.15 degrees Celsius, or 8 decakelvins. That's 80 Kelvin. The same temperature as the lowest temperature on Ganymede at night, and the lowest temperature on Callisto during nighttime. The Néel temperature for iron dichloride, a compound containing one iron atom and two fluorine atoms, is minus 194.15 degrees Celsius, or 7.9 decakelvins. That's 79 Kelvin. Nitrogen, a gas that is the seventh most abundant chemical element in our universe and less expensive than argon and atomic number 7, became a liquid at minus 195.8 degrees Celsius, or 7.735 decakelvins. That's 77.35 Kelvin. The clouds of Uranus, the seventh planet from the Sun, orbits about 25,362 kilometers in diameter every 30,688.5 days, is minus 197.2 degrees Celsius, or 7.595 decakelvins. That's 75.95 Kelvin. The Néel temperature for nickel diiodide, a compound containing one nickel atom and two iodine atoms, is minus 198.15 degrees Celsius, or 7.5 decakelvins. That's 75 Kelvin. The same temperature as the surface temperature on Umbriel, a Uranian moon discovered on the 24th of October 1851 by William Lassell, about 584.7 kilometers in diameter, orbits every 4.144 days at minus 200 degrees Celsius, or 7.315 decakelvins. That's 73.15 Kelvin. Your skin temporarily freezes. Below that point, only 3 gas and 6 liquid elements remain. Unprotected exposure at this point are instantly lethal to humans. Below this temperature will be very, very, very harmful to humans because only humans choke instead of breathing. Chemical reactions may have slowed significantly, or stopped entirely, but we can go colder still. The surface temperature of Neptune, the 8th planet from the Sun, about 24,622 kilometers in diameter, orbits every 60,182 days, is at minus 201 degrees Celsius, or 7.215 decakelvins. That's 72.15 Kelvin. The surface temperature on Oberon, the Uranian outermost major moon, the second largest and second most massive of the Uranian moons, and the 9th most massive moon in the Solar System, orbits every 13.463234 days, and Titania, the largest Uranian moon and the 8th largest moon in the Solar System at a diameter of 1,578 kilometers, orbits every 8.706234 days, are at minus 203.15 degrees Celsius, or 7 decakelvins. That's 70 Kelvin. The Néel temperature for manganese difluoride, a compound containing one manganese atom and two fluorine atoms, is minus 205.15 degrees Celsius, or 6.8 decakelvins. That's 68 Kelvin. The surface temperature on Mimas, the Saturnian moon which was discovered in 1789 by William Herschel, orbits every 0.942 days, is minus 206.15 degrees Celsius, or 6.6 decakelvins. That's 66 Kelvin. Nitrogen freezes at minus 209.9 degrees Celsius, or 6.325 decakelvins. That's 63.25 Kelvin. The surface temperature on Miranda, the smallest and innermost Uranian moon, orbits every 1.413479 days, and Ariel, the fourth largest Uranian moon, orbits every 2.52 days, is minus 213.15 degrees Celsius, or 6 decakelvins. That's 60 Kelvin. The lowest temperature on Uranus is minus 214.15 degrees Celsius, or 5.9 decakelvins. That's 59 Kelvin. Fluorine freezes at minus 219.5 degrees Celsius, or 5.365 decakelvins. That's 53.65 Kelvin. The surface temperature on Charon, the Plutonian moon orbits every 6.387230 days, is minus 220.15 degrees Celsius, or 5.3 decakelvins. That's 53 Kelvin. The surface temperature on Proteus, the second largest Neptunian moon and Neptune's largest inner satellite, orbits every 1.12231477 days, is minus 222.15 degrees Celsius, or 5.1 decakelvins. That's 51 Kelvin. Oxygen freezes at minus 222.7 degrees Celsius, or 5.045 decakelvins. That's 50.45 Kelvin. At this point, nobody could breathe anymore. Around this or below will be the extinction of humans in a deep freeze, resulting in freezing to death for humans. Only neon, hydrogen and helium remains. The Nel temperature for nickel dichloride, a compound containing one nickel atom and two chlorine atoms, is minus 223.15 degrees Celsius, or 5 decakelvins. The same temperature as the Nel temperature for pentaneodymium trigermanide, a compound containing 5 neodymium atoms and 3 germanium atoms, and the lowest temperature on Neptune and on Nereid, the third largest Neptunian moon, orbits every 360.1362 days. The surface temperature of Pluto, the dwarf and the ninth planet from the Sun, orbits about 1,188.3 kilometers in diameter every 90,560 days, is at minus 229 degrees Celsius, or 4.415 decakelvins. That's 44.15 Kelvin. The surface temperature of Eris, the most massive and second largest, by volume, dwarf planet known in the Solar System, about 1,163 kilometers in diameter, orbits every 203,830 days, is at minus 230.65 degrees Celsius, or 4.25 decakelvins. That's 42.5 Kelvin. The surface temperature of Triton, the largest natural satellite of the planet Neptune, and the first Neptunian moon to be discovered, about 1,353.4 kilometers in diameter, and orbits every 5.876854 days, is at minus 235.2 degrees Celsius, or 3.795 decakelvins. That's 37.95 Kelvin. The critical temperature of hydrogen is minus 240.15 degrees Celsius, or 3.3 decakelvins. That's 33 Kelvin. The lowest temperature of Makemake, a dwarf planet and perhaps the second largest Kuiper belt object in the classical population, with the diameter approximately two-thirds that of Pluto, about 715 kilometers in diameter, orbits every 112,327 days, is minus 243.15 degrees Celsius, or 3 decakelvins. That's 30 Kelvin. Neon, the second lightest noble gas that is the fourth most abundant element in the universe at atomic number 10, became a liquid at minus 246 degrees Celsius, or 2.715 decakelvins. That's 27.15 Kelvin. The Nel temperature for cobalt dichloride, a compound containing one cobalt atom and two chlorine atoms, is minus 248.15 degrees Celsius, or 2.5 decakelvins. That's 25 Kelvin, the same temperature as the lowest temperature on the Moon. Neon freezes at minus 248.6 degrees Celsius, or 2.455 decakelvins. That's 24.55 Kelvin. Only hydrogen and helium are left as gases. The Knell temperature for iron dichloride, a compound containing one iron atom and two chlorine atoms, is -249.15 degrees Celsius, or 2.4 decakelvins. That's 24 Kelvin. At -250 degrees Celsius, or 2.315 decakelvins. That's 23.15 Kelvin, your skin may not be able to move and froze completely. Any chemical reaction may have halted. Everything else is frozen solid. At -252.9 degrees Celsius, or 2.025 decakelvins. That's 20.25 Kelvin. Hydrogen, a gas that's the most abundant element in the universe, makes up 90% at atomic number 1, became a liquid. Hydrogen freezes at -259.2 degrees Celsius, or 1.395 decakelvins. That's 13.95 Kelvin. Helium remains the only gaseous element. The surface temperature of Sedna, a large minor planet in the outer reaches of the solar system that was, as of 2015, at a distance of about 3 times as far as Neptune. That has a size of 995 kilometers in diameter, which orbits every 11,400 years, about 4,161,000 days, is -261 degrees Celsius, or 1.215 decakelvins. That's 12.15 Kelvin. The Knell temperature for cobalt iodide, a compound containing one cobalt atom and one iodine atom, is -261.15 degrees Celsius, or 1.2 decakelvins. That's 12 Kelvin. The superconductivity point of niobium is -263.85 degrees Celsius, or 9.3 Kelvin. The surface temperature of 2015 TG387, an extreme trans-Neptunian object and sednoid in the outermost part of the solar system about 300 kilometers in diameter, orbits every 32,100 years. Exactly 11,716,500 days, is at -264 degrees Celsius, or 9.15 Kelvin. The Knell temperature for iron diiodide, a compound containing one iron atom and two iodine atoms, is -264.15 degrees Celsius, or 9 Kelvin. Lead's superconductivity point is at -265.95 degrees Celsius, or 7.2 Kelvin. Helium, a non-flammable lightest noble gas that is the second most abundant element known in the universe at atomic number 2 and the first element as a gas, became a liquid at -268.9 degrees Celsius, or 4.25 Kelvin. The superconductivity point of mercury is at -270.2 degrees Celsius, or 2.95 Kelvin. The temperature of the cosmic microwave background is at -270.425 degrees Celsius, or 2.725 Kelvin. The same temperature as the average temperature of the universe, which helium may preventing of freezing, transforms into a superfluid. The lambda point of overbound superfluid helium is -270.96 degrees Celsius, or 2.19 Kelvin. The melting point of overbound helium is -271.65 degrees Celsius, or 1.5 Kelvin. The temperature of the Boomerang Nebula, a protoplanetary nebula located 5,000 light-years away from Earth in the constellation Centaurus as the coldest known galaxy, is at -272.15 degrees Celsius, or 1 Kelvin, which butane freezes at 9.5 of a Kelvin, that's 9.5 decikelvins. All chemical reactions came to a complete stop, which helium became solid. Every element is frozen solid. At 7/10 of a Kelvin, that's 7 decikelvins, helium-3 and helium-4 may begin operation. The evaporative cooling of helium-3 is 3/10 of a Kelvin, that's 3 decikelvins. The temperature of adiabatic demagnetization of paramagnetic molecules is 6/100 of a Kelvin, that's 6 centikelvins. The Fermi melting point of helium-3 is 2.5 thousandths of a Kelvin, that's 2.5 millikelvins. but helium-3 is prevented from freezing, becoming a superfluid. The lowest recorded temperature in the lab is 1.7 thousandths of a Kelvin, that's 1.7 millikelvins. The limit temperature of laser cooling is 10 thousandths of a Kelvin, that's 100 microkelvins. The temperature of nuclear demagnetization is 1 millionth of a Kelvin, that's 1 microkelvin. The lowest temperature at Einstein's state of matter is 17 millionths of a Kelvin, that's 170 nanokelvins, the exotic state of matter that only appears above absolute zero. The Fermi point of potassium-40 is 50 millionths of a Kelvin, that's 50 nanokelvins. The lowest temperature sodium Bose-Einstein condensate gas ever achieved in the laboratory is 4.5 millionths of a Kelvin, that's 4.5 nanokelvins. The current record for lowest temperature, achieved by cooling the nuclear spins of rhodium metal is 100 billionths of a Kelvin, that's 100 picokelvins. The lowest temperature ever recorded is 1 trillionth of a Kelvin, that's 1 picokelvin. The temperature of the atomic waves coherent over centimeters and atomic particles decoherent over centimeters is 1 quadrillionth of a Kelvin, that's 1 femtokelvin. The Hawking temperature of a supermassive black hole is 1 quintillionth of a Kelvin, that's 1 attokelvin. At 1 sextillionth of a Kelvin, that's 1 zeptokelvin, microscopic quantum tunneling can occur. The temperature of particular speeds bound paths to exceed the size and lifetime of the universe to 1 nonillionth of a Kelvin, that's 0.000001 yoctokelvins. At minus 273.15 degrees Celsius or 0 kelvins, we have reached the possible lowest temperature called the absolute zero, aka, the absolute cold. If the Earth reaches absolute zero, then it'll be a frozen ball of frozen wasteland, making it really impossible to survive for humans. I have information on absolute zero. Let me tell you about the absolute zero. Absolute zero, aka, the absolute cold, is the lowest limit of the thermodynamic temperature scale, a state at which the enthalpy and entropy of a cooled ideal gas reach their minimum value, taken as zero, which means no single particle, molecule, or element can move. Scientists theorized that the volume of the gas should become zero at a temperature of minus 273.15 degrees Celsius. Absolute zero has been considered the lowest temperature possible since the 1800s when Lord Kelvin developed his temperature scale. Absolute zero was discovered in 1702 by Guillaume Montans. Guillaume Montans was a French inventor who lost his hearing in childhood and never went to college. Tried to figure out the basic concept of absolute zero in 1702, but he did. Guillaume Montans was born on the 31st of August 1663 in Paris, France and died on the 11th of October 1705 in Paris, France at the age of 42. When an object reaches absolute zero, all atomic motion ceases. If anything reaches absolute zero, the wavelength would have been 0 meters and the frequency would have been 0 hertz. The magnitude of absolute zero is 0. Any temperature scale having absolute zero for its 0 points are termed an absolute temperature scale or a thermodynamic scale. All particles of the universe may freeze from that point. Every single particle may become frozen solid. The work needed to remove heat from a gas increases the colder you get, and an infinite amount of work would be needed to cool something to absolute zero. The fundamental particles of nature have minimum vibrational motion, retaining only quantum mechanical, zero-point energy-induced particle motion. It is commonly thought of as the lowest temperature possible, but it is not the lowest enthalpy state possible, because all real substances begin to depart from the ideal gas when cooled as they approach the change of state to liquid, and then to solid, and the sum of the enthalpy of vaporization and enthalpy of fusion exceeds the ideal gas's change in enthalpy to absolute zero. There's no interaction within or without the thermodynamic system. Everything has come to a complete halt. both enthalpy and entropy equal 0, and every particle have a minimum vibration. Nothing can respond at this point. No actual physical system can ever reach a temperature of absolute zero, but unfortunately, a system with a truly negative temperature is not colder than absolute zero. For some reason, there are no negative numbers on the Kelvin scale, as the lowest number is 0 Kelvin. There's no way to slow them down further, so there can be no lower temperature. The wavelength breaks these quantum physics of temperature. That is how cold we can get. In theory, a negative temperature can exist. If negative Kelvin would exist, that'll be below absolute zero. In real life, a negative temperature cannot exist. That is the coldest temperature we can get. It is not possible to go below zero, at least not in the sense of getting colder than 0 Kelvin. Thus, nothing can be colder than absolute zero on the Kelvin scale. Thanks for watching. Please don't forget to subscribe to his channel. Bye.